Now, we talked about the left-wing conspiracy theories surrounding the shooting, that it was staged somehow, that Trump was in on it. And it isn't just the crazies on TikTok that are floating this idea. It's also crazies with cable news shows who are suggesting this. For instance, we have Joy Reid. Let's watch.
We still don't know for sure whether Donald Trump was hit by a bullet, whether he was hit by glass fragments, whether he was hit by shrapnel. We don't have those details. We actually have no details from his physician, even though this man is still a Secret Service protected, and presidential candidate. We know almost nothing. Why? Why don't we know that much? We know that 3 people were shot. 1 person, unfortunately, was killed at the rally. We don't know where they were sitting or standing relative to him. We don't know why, for 9 full seconds, Donald Trump was allowed to stand back up during an active shooter situation, even though they, at that point, had said the shooter was down. How would they have known if there were more shooters or not? Nobody knew that there could have been 5 shooters for all they knew. Yet they allowed him to stand up in the middle of that, crisis and pose for a photo and fist pump the air so he could get the iconic photo. And then they allowed him to stand up again outside of the SUV instead of just shoving him into the SUV. That seems really unusual. What is the actual injury to Donald Trump's ear that's under that bandage? Shouldn't we know that by now? It's weird. And there doesn't seem to be a whole lot of curiosity about it, in the sort of media world, my profession. It's weird, right? Where are the FOIAs? Why isn't the New York Times aggressively pursuing his medical records? It's just weird. Just a strange thing that I've noticed. And I don't know if you guys have noticed it too, but it's weird.
Yeah, it's so weird. What's under the bandage? We have no idea. Except for the approximately 10 billion photographs of it. All the photos that we all saw of his bleeding, injured ear. Aside from the fact that this might be the most documented injury of all time, the injury to his ear might be the most widely viewed injury ever in history. And except for that, we have no idea. We don't know. What's the injury? It's a bullet. It's a wound. You could see it. What do you mean? What else do you need to know? There's not a lot to say about it, aside from what you saw. Fortunately, it did just hit his ear. Okay, it's not one of those things where if he had been shot in the stomach, God forbid, and survived, then it wouldn't be enough to just say, oh, he was shot in the stomach. There's organs. There's all kinds of stuff. We need to know how bad is the injury. What's the extent of the injury? So it's a much more complicated injury. An injury to an ear, thank God, ends up being much more minor and more simple. And, they tell us his ear was injured. We all saw the photograph. I don't know what more information you need. What else do you need to know about it? So she's doing the classic coy conspiracy theorist thing that people like her usually complain about. Hey, I'm just asking questions, man. I'm just asking questions. That's all. And there's nothing wrong with asking questions, right? We have no problem with asking questions. But you obviously are implying certain possibilities. So just come out and say it. You're implying certain things. Have the guts to say what you mean. Joy Reid thinks the shooting might have been staged. That's what she's saying. She's too cowardly to just come out and say it, but that is what she's saying. Now, I believe that there could be conspiracies related to this shooting. Not that Trump staged them. It's not conspiracies Trump was involved in. He was the target of the conspiracies, if there was a conspiracy. And I believe that, but I have no problem coming out and saying it. I think it's possible the Secret Service and or other agencies and entities in the federal government were in on it. I think it's possible that they weren't directly in on it, but were intentionally lax in their security because they hoped that this might happen. I don't know that, but that's one theory that I am entertaining. Many of us are entertaining, and we will say it. We're not being coy about it. We're saying, hey, what if this is the case? Are we sure that it isn't? Like many of you this summer, I intend to spend more time with my family, getting outside, traveling, letting go of some of my routine. But one routine I won't be letting go of is my prayer routine. I'll continue my daily habit of prayer with Hallow, #1 prayer app in the world. This month, Hallow will be launching a new challenge, Witness to Hope, the life of St. John Paul II. Guided by Jim Caviezel, Monsignor Shea, and Jackie Angel, this challenge walks through the life of this incredible saint from his childhood in Poland, living through Nazi occupation, to his religious life during the Cold War and his papacy at the turn of the millennium. Learn what St. John Paul II meant when he said, "There is no evil to be faced that Christ does not face with us. There is no enemy that Christ has not already conquered. There is no cross to bear that Christ has not already carried for us. He does not bear with us now. Be not afraid." You can download the app for free at hallow.com/Matt Walsh. Set prayer reminders and track your progress along the way. Hallow is truly transformative. It will help you connect with your faith on a deeper level. So what are you waiting for? Download the Hallow app today at hallow.com/Matt Walsh, hallow.com/Matt Walsh for an exclusive 3-month free trial of all 6,000 prayers and meditations. The other thing about our theories, along with the fact that we will say them, is that they make sense given the facts on the ground. Joy Reid's theory makes no sense. Now, if she's simply suggesting, because there's kind of two theories that she's, not just her, right? But there are two theories that they're kind of floating while being too chicken to actually say them out loud. And one is that he was hit by broken glass or something, but Trump doesn't want to tell us that because it's not as dramatic of a story. And so he wants everyone to think that he was hit by a bullet, but he really wasn't. Now, I don't think that's true at all. I think that's nonsense. It's at least a relatively coherent, nonsensical theory. It's a coherent theory. We understand what the theory is. It doesn't work. I mean, if he was hit, it doesn't work for a lot of reasons. But let's start with this. Like, what we can see of the injury, we saw the ear injured, and now there's the bandage. And all that makes sense. Hey, why is he wearing a bandage? What are you trying to hide under there, huh? I don't know. He was shot in the ear like 4 days ago? You want him to not wear a bandage? But anyway, that is more consistent with a bullet wound than it is with shards of glass. Because if he was hit by flying shards of broken glass, you would expect more visible injuries than the bullet. A bullet can graze your ear. That's a thing that can happen, which is what happened. Flying shards of glass, if they hit your ear, they're probably going to hit the whole side of your face. Like, how would shards of glass only hit the tip of your ear? So it doesn't really work. But she goes beyond that, obviously. She's clearly suggesting that the whole thing may have been staged in some way, which is totally bonkers. Although she is right about one thing. The reaction from the Secret Service is weird. We can agree on that. It's very weird, both before and after. We've talked about the issues before, even after. It took them way too long to get him out of there. Why? Well, again, whatever conspiracy theory that leads you to, it cannot be one where Trump is the mastermind. Because to begin with, this is Biden's Secret Service that we're talking about here. This is the Secret Service under Biden. So what, is the Biden administration conspiring with Trump to elect him president? What kind of a ridiculous excuse for a conspiracy theory is that exactly? Now, if you want to go this route, you have to ask, who stands to gain from Trump getting hit in the head with a bullet? Trump only gains from it on the very insanely small chance that the bullet hits one of the very few little portions of your head that won't kill you if you're hit with a bullet. Now, that's what happened, but the chances are so low that it obviously couldn't have been his idea to do this. Like 99 times out of 100, if you shoot a guy in the head and make contact from 450 feet out with an AR-15, you're going to kill him, or at least you're going to cause a significant incapacitating injury. So who stands to gain from shooting Trump in the head? Who would say to themselves ahead of time, you know, it would be great if Trump was shot in the head? Trump isn't going to say that. I don't think that's something Trump's going to say to himself. There's really no conceivable universe where Trump is standing up on stage delivering a speech, hoping that someone shoots him in the head, much less arranging for that to happen to him. So if we are speculating about forces beyond just the shooter being involved in this thing, then again, the first thing you have to ask is, well, who would want that? Who are the people who, you arrange your suspects just like any, it's like in any murder investigation, right? You don't know who all involved, who all was involved. Well, the first thing the detectives are asking themselves is, who has a motive? Who would want to do this? Let's start with them. Doesn't mean they're all guilty. Doesn't mean any of them are guilty. But we got to start with who would conceivably want this to happen to this person. And if you do the same thing with this, it leads you in directions, but they all point to, Joy Reid's side of the aisle. Hey, YouTube, thanks for listening to the show. If you'd like access to my full show with no ads, you should go to dailywire.com and use promo code Walsh to get 2 months free on all annual plans. See you there.